Thank you for your super chat, Dark Knight Dev. Women enter male spaces consistently and not the other way around for one simple fact. Number 7 will surprise you. It's because women like attention. And Rolo talks about this. A lot of girls are competing with other girls, and not every girl's a winner. And the girls that aren't winners, they kind of know they're not the top of the chick pile. So when they find a new niche and it's full of guys, they can go into that space and be the top girl there. So you may be number 63rd on the beauty pageant scene. You could be the 300th most attractive girl at the bar. At school, you're the hard 5, but you join some guy's World of Warcraft LAN party event, and there's only one girl there, and it's you. You become the hottest girl. It's not just stuff like that. It's like rural towns. A lot of people found that girls in the city, for example, when there's a higher girl-to-boy ratio, tend to be very argumentative with each other, very combative. They like what they like. They don't like what they don't like. Rural girls, on the other hand, they start picking up sports. Like, girls aren't sports fans except for in small-town America. And that's because that's where the boys are. Now, they may not think of it that way, which is, evolutionary-wise, you can explain this easy. Here's another example for this. When you say, from an evolutionary perspective, our DNA has designed us or has evolved for us wanting to impregnate as many people as possible. And so for those of you that do it more, you tend to procreate more, and the ones that do it less procreate less, and so you end up with one priest outbreeding the other two, so it's selected for and it propagates from the community. You ask somebody, you tell somebody that, like, oh, this is your genetic propensity to do this. And they're like, no, I just have sex because it feels good. It's like, yeah, well, how it expresses is different than the thing you're describing. So in this case, this is why you cannot argue with women about red pill online, because every single one will say, you guys have got it completely wrong. You may be describing things well, but that's not why I'm doing it, and that's not what I'm thinking, and that's completely beside the point, and that's why you cannot ask a girl what turns her on, because we don't know. Our DNA needs us to do this and this and this. All we know is that sex feels good, and so we have more sex because dopamine encourages us to have more of it. It feels good, that's why I do it. I'm not doing it because my DNA needs to spread. It's like, yeah. Welcome to the forest for the trees argument, And of course, this is like it's a weird arms race when you're talking about girls entering guys' spaces. And I've talked about this before with the male social matrix. You get a girl enters a guy's space. Previously, the guy's space is designed to solve a problem or to do certain things. I'm gonna use like a caveman example, like a hunting group. You want all your guys in your hunting group, and whoever's the best hunter, whoever helps the team hunt more effectively, tends to be the top tier dude in there. The best hunter becomes the commander of the hunter group. The best tactician. You're in charge of the spears, sir. But as long as you have an adequate level of competence, you're in the group, no questions asked. They will sacrifice themselves for each other because at the end of the day, they're all in the same direction. And we are going to rise to success as a community because, again, evolutionary-wise, humans that were better able to socialize and form these groups were more effective hunters, gained more calories, captured more territory, bred with more women. And so that was a trait that was kind of evolved for over, previous millennia or whatever. And not just with humans, with Cro-Magnon, Australopithecus, all that stuff. The women's side of things is by getting into that group, they end up getting the most successful hunters for themselves. And so when they join in the problem is now you get one girl in that group, and then a segment of those hunter guys are not going to have, I want to be the best hunter in the group as their MO. Their MO is going to be, I want to impress this girl. And it doesn't take much. 10-12% is usually all it takes to completely ruin group cohesion. So you need like a 10% thirst level to completely ruin a space, which is bad enough. The funny part I tell you about this, and I talked about this in a tweet too with when Torsha was talking smack and somebody was just calling her an ugly whammon or whatever. And I'm like, the funny part isn't that women ruin the spaces. The funny part is that they aren't the ones doing the work ruining it. It's the thirsty guys. Thirst is the worst. Thirst is the worst. Those thirsty guys are what ruined it. And that's why you need very strong gatekeeping. Keep the thirsty ones out. keep the thirsty ones out, kick the thirsty ones out if they're not on stage, or if they're not on a thing for it. Sometimes it's just easier to say no chicks allowed and you're done with it. And that's kind of like where we're at now, because, I mean, if you want to try to find top tier dudes, you're not going to be able to get 10 of them in a room together where they're going to fight and argue. Add a second girl, you end up giving, you give them a vector point. So the girls will compete with each other over who gets the most boy attention. Unless somebody points out that they're ruining group cohesion, in which case both the girls will team up to get that guy removed from the group. That was what we talked about before when I was bringing up the sad story of Carolina Hermes, or Kitten Holiday, or Deads and Sushi Kate. Like, all of these girls. This is exactly what happens. They're all for being the one girl on the team. And then there's two girls on the team, and heck with that bitch, I don't like her. But if any guy says I don't like those girls, they're like, no, this guy needs to go. You guys need to be inclusive, and they basically prey on a guy's like goodwill. It's like, well, I mean, they're nice people. I don't want to be rude to them, and they're hurt, and I like them, and they're part of the group. And so you do that same self-sacrificial thing. The dynamic just ruins a space. Now, the part of it that's the good part of it is that it forces guys to adapt. There's not one sexual marketplace. There's not one Pareto principle where 20% of the guys in the world are doing 80% of the sex, and that's fine. No, it's just in every individual social group, social unit, there's an 80-20 rule. But because we have an infinite capacity to make social groups, they call it a social matrix, is that if you're not in the top 20% at the work office place, and you're not sleeping with all the interns, well, then you can go have a side job working as a bartender at a bar, and then you're in the top 20% of that group. And maybe in there, the guy who's a regular at the bar, he's not top 20%, but he plays in a recreational sports league. And the bartender goes to hang out. He plays in the games too, but that guy's a great pitcher, so he gets all the girls. So in that realm, he's top 20%. And then everybody, all you basically have to do, I mean, there's general things you do to improve your attractiveness, but join more social matrices, or better yet, build your own. There's no better way to be the top tier guy in a group than making your own group. Now, it's harder because you have to attract other people to it, but I mean, that's what the competence thing is for. You know? But that's it. And if you aren't in the top 20%, it's either because you need to do some serious work on yourself. You're fat, you're out of shape, you're unattractive, you're autistic, whatever. Or you're just not part of enough social groups yet that you found a niche where you can be a top 20%. And we could talk more about that when Carl and I talked about our red and blue oceans, which I haven't talked about in a while, so I'll probably do a video on that in the future. Anyways, back to the stream. How was that? Was that smooth? Not bad